Hello and welcome to the Build Up in association with Ladbrokes. I'm your host David Gillick and I'm joined by Ladbrokes ambassador and former Ireland international Kevin Doyle. Kevin, how are you keeping?
I'm good, David. Recovering from last night's the Liverpool-Villarreal game. It was fairly exciting.
Go on, what did you make of it?
Um, I was really surprised how Villarreal played in the first half, how well they played, how much they came out. Expecting them to sit deep, I think, like most people, and try not concede early and try, get through the game and then try nick a goal or two to get back into it. Instead, they came right out, played like Liverpool on the front foot, closing everything out. It was brilliant. Right in their faces, really made it uncomfortable for Liverpool. They didn't like it, and they were surprised, I think, by it, and they didn't get to the pace of the game. They're passing everything. They really disrupted them, and then they got their two goals, and then they went and reverted back to the way we thought they'd play. And they sat back, and Liverpool loved it. Back into the game in the second half, everything was nice and easy, and they got their passing going, their confidence going, and ran out easy winners. Yeah, so I would say Emery, if he had his time again, that halftime team talk would be completely different. And he said, "Listen, lads, stay what you're doing," but they didn't. Everyone was saying this in Liverpool changed because of Diaz, but it wasn't. It was all over the pitch, and it was because they were allowed. They were allowed change. Now, listen, maybe Villarreal, they put so much into that first half as well. Maybe he felt they couldn't keep up that sort of high tempo, high press, and high energy game. And there were a few older players in their team, and maybe that was the case. But it felt like felt like more of a tactical, or looked like more of a tactical thing straight from the start of the second half to me. That they thought, right, we're back in it now. Don't lose. Instead of keeping that sort of front foot attitude they had.
Like for a neutral, like it was a great watch, and it was a great like semi-final second leg where a team just come out raring to go.
Yeah.
And like Liverpool they look shell shocked now. They obviously turned it around in the end and they're in that final. And, when you look at Liverpool, and again for Liverpool fans, the great news that Jurgen Klopp has announced he's staying as well. So, is that something? Look, football teams, football clubs love that stability, I'm sure. So, like, was there ever a thought that he would leave?
Um, I think it wasn't that he was going to leave and go. There was talks he'd go to the German national team. I think it was more he was saying he needed a break. In 2 years' time, he'd be ready for a break. That he'd been in charge for a long time, high pressure job, and it is a high pressure job managing any professional sports team. And especially the Premier League with Liverpool. So I don't know if he still won't do that. To be honest with you, I think it was a great move signing the 4-year contract because it ends all the doubt of his contract's up in 2 years. What's going to happen? All those questions in press conferences continually, which were starting to come and were only going to get worse as the next 6 months went on. The same with signing players. You're trying to sign a player and they're like, well, the manager's leaving in 2 years. I'm not going to Liverpool. So puts all that to bed, and it can be forgotten about while he still has the option. Like, it's only a contract. I'm sure, listen, behind the scenes, if he wanted to leave in 2 years, as long as he wasn't jumping ship to a rival club or whatever, or jumping ship to another club, if it was a case of a career break, I need a break for a year or two, I'm sure then it will happen. So I wouldn't write that off happening, but I just think it was a masterstroke to sign that contract and put all those other thoughts and questions to one side.
It's controlling the narrative, really, isn't
Yeah.
it? And these press conferences, and look, he's done it. He's there. The fans love him, and that when you sign a long-term deal as well, it's just kind of bodes more for that. But when we look at other managers, and I have to say, you called it. You called it last week, and we were chatting when we were doing your 1-2 free bet segment. That you can see the heads kind of beginning. Oh, I actually got one right.
Yeah, I know. No, I also remember some of the other ones I called, so I won't talk about them. But
We'll
they're
just
fun
focus
things.
on the Everton Chelsea. Lampard went. He knew the team inside out, and they got the win.
Yeah,
Huge win.
massive win. Considering the other results of the weekend as well, it was really they had to win. They had no choice. Everton played well. Important win. Their keeper made a few fabulous saves, and Chelsea on the other side of it have been going through an end of season sort of just get us out of here sort of feel to the place. And it was another result like that for them. But yeah, no, massive win for Everton. Important win. They need a few more of them. They're going to need at least 2 more wins in the next. I think they have 5 games left. Everton, they have a game in hand, I think so. They have to tough running as well. So, but they needed that one. If they didn't win that, it was all over, I feel. And yeah, massive win for them, confidence wise. Beating Chelsea at home, crowded, and everyone's buzzing and confidence. And Burnley have momentum going into the end of the season. Now Everton have a little bit of momentum as well.
Yeah, kind of Leeds. Is that the one
Yeah.
now that actually first and foremost, focusing on the Everton, I watched the game, the intensity. Like you talked about Villarreal there, the first 45 minutes. Like how many times can a team go to the well?
Um, well, Liverpool go to the well every week, so I don't know. It's how you're trained and how how fit you are. Some teams seem to get more injuries because I think they're not as fit enough and they try to perform at that level and you can't do it, or maybe they're older legs or whatever it might be. Everton have an expensively assembled young squad who should be able to go to the well. I don't know if did I say this last week to you, but a previous manager of mine who was very, very good, I won't name his name, but he was talking to me one day just about football, and he said, "Do you know what the key to football is?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." He said, getting good players to work hard. It's as simple as that. So, if you can get enough good players and you can inspire them to work hard enough in the right way, well, it's a lot easier than what it seemed like at Everton this year and last year. Is they sign everyone, they spend a lot of money, they have an expensively assembled squad, and they all feel like they just have to turn up and not put that effort in, and you can't do that. The best team in the two best teams in the world, Man City and Liverpool right now, both work extremely hard and not just relying on their natural ability or their skill. They put a lot into tactics, put a lot into energy and hard work and winning the ball back. And it's not just about the other team messing up. It's what you do with it, how you get it back. Can you do that for 90 minutes? It's simple things. It's not really rocket science, but it's still every season there's a few teams who can't do it, can't get it right. Everton shouldn't be in where they are. They're a better squad, a better team of players than the ones around them. So listen, if Frank Lampard can inspire them to work hard between now and the end of the season, they will stay up.
And that's kind of, I think he inspired them well on the weekend, and
Yeah,
their big players, like they were up and down the pitch. They were, those 50-50 balls they are winning. But again, it's consistency, and they need to come back and they need to do that. And when you look at the Premier League table, it's a great end of season because there's a scrap at the top and there's a scrap at the bottom, and it's probably down the bottom. They talk about the Championship going into the Premier League, most expensive kind of playoff
yeah.
finals, expensive game, etc., etc. Like when you look at it from like Leeds, Burnley, Everton, can you change now? Can you think about who's going down, which one?
Like Everton or Burnley have just turned it around so much and have that. I would imagine they felt they were relegated 3 or 4 weeks ago to players, so now the relief of where they are, I'd imagine they'll stay up Burnley because they can't believe their luck. I'd imagine they just felt that. I think that club felt like they were going down. They sacked their manager, which looked like a good decision. Now they're getting that new manager bounce. Like if you had to ask me right now, I'd say Leeds. To be honest with you, out of three. But listen, that this weekend we see the results again. And we'll be talking next week, and we'll be saying, Jesus, out of three teams, whoever's performed badly, we'll be saying the opposite. So right now, if you had to pick one, you say Leeds, really close. I don't think like a week ago we weren't mentioning Leeds, and all of a sudden they're there, and you think how they ended up there, and it's due to a couple of wins from sides, the two sides, Burnley and Everton, that you didn't expect them to get. Like Burnley were 1-0 down with not long to go in the game the other day against Watford, and you think, well, that's them gone now anyway. That'd be a massive loss to them, losing to a team lower them. Need to win this game, and they scored 2 goals right to death. Can you imagine the boost that is? What that's like in training this week, and how how many smiles on their faces and the happiness and the confidence are in the place after that. So that will have to help them going into this weekend and the rest of the season. But it can change, and it will change weekly, like it will at the top of the table. I feel there's a slip up coming there as well. I can't imagine they'll both win their 4 games to go. So yeah, interesting both ends.
Yeah, it's exciting end. Like we focus on the Premier League, but when you look at the Championship, like that, there's a huge crop of Irish players battling away down there, and we're seeing, more and more coming through, and hopefully begin to come into Premier League. When you look at, say, some of the players like Michael Obafemi's form at the end of the season for Swansea has been amazing, and then, and this, you've played at this level, striker, Aaron Connolly, he's struggled. So, is there like they've both had injury problems and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but like, what's the difference, in that? And it's a very competitive league, as you know better than anyone. What's the difference between them?
I don't know. Like, I look at Aaron Connolly, and he has so much ability, and it just hasn't. He hasn't fulfilled it. He burst on with scoring a fabulous goal for Brighton, and he played some games, and you think, yeah, he's just going to have a long future. He can do everything. He's quick. He's skillful. He does things differently, and yeah, he's all you want to see in a player, and he just hasn't. I can't tell you why that hasn't happened. I don't know. He's had some injuries. The same Obafemi, he's had the injuries, and that worries me about younger players. Why are they getting these injuries? They shouldn't be getting injured so easily. A little niggle's always out. Little niggles, especially. I don't know so much about Obafemi, but with Aaron Connolly, Ireland squad's missing, coming in, dropping out, and he just hasn't got a run. He hasn't got, it's all right. It's easy, not easy, but it's easy coming off a bench or playing a game or two with no pressure and scoring a goal and everything's great. And you're a young player and everyone thinks you have a bright future. The hard thing is you have to play 40 games every season. You're going to have niggles, and you're not going to be perfect every week. But you have to have a career, and that's so many players. We seem to lose players, not just Irish, but every there's a big transition between that type of player who's young, come off the bench and fresh, and this is great, and there's no pressure on me, to all of a sudden, this is my job now, and it's a weekly thing, and I have to do it all season long, and that you lose players in that case. I'm not saying we're going to lose Aaron Connolly and he's not going to have a great career. I don't know. He has time to make a great career for himself, but he just has to transition from that potential and loads of ability, and I could be brilliant, and this is I'm already made it sort of feeling to I actually have to go out now and have a career and do this, and that's a transition in your head more than anything else. And it's something he'll have to do sooner rather than later, because he'll be forgotten about and he'll be left behind, and clubs will give up on him. At the moment, they won't give up on him because he has that potential. He's still young, but if it goes on for another couple of seasons, they will, and he'll just drift down through the leagues and be forgotten about. Obafemi seems to have clicked with him coming into the end of the season again, injury free. And that, it's all right now. I've injured, I've injured and this, that, and well, you have to make sure you're not injured. You have to live your life right. You have to do all the things right behind the scenes to make sure you're not injured, because it's your job and it's your life. And as I said, you have to have a long career. So those excuses have to end too. You have to just make sure you're not, and find a way to make sure you stay fit week on week, and that a club can trust in you and rely on you and play you and want to give you a contract because they know you can be a professional long term.
How did you deal with it all? Like how that pressure from being a striker. You're up front. They're relying on you for goals, and like you said, you're building a career. It's like you're starting every week. There has to be a sense of like emotion in that, where okay, I have to score, have to keep.
Yeah.
How did you deal with it?
Like I did try to do what I said there. I tried to live right, do everything behind the scenes right. I felt a responsibility to be fit and to play, and that I couldn't be injured. When I was injured, I used to feel guilty. You know, people would be like any, not just striker, any position. You have to take it. It has to be your life when you're a sports person. It has to be 100%. It's not you can you're done training, you can go home now and switch off and do whatever you want. You have to, especially in my younger days, every minute was my career. It wasn't just the training and on the pitch and the match at the weekend. It was, I was probably the most boring person. I'm sure I drove my wife now wrong, and maybe my friends wrong, because I wouldn't do the stuff they want to do. You have to sacrifice all the time.
They still think you're bored.
I'm still boring, and she still drives around. But no, it's just all the things you have to do to be professional. You have to have you have to leave no stone unturned and make sure you do everything possible. And if you do everything possible for not just for a week, loads of people do it for a week or 2 weeks or a month. It's like a person on a diet. They'll do it for a month and then it goes out the window again. You have to do it for a long, long time, and then at the end of it, if after 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, and still aren't going right, at least you have no excuses, and you can say, listen, I did everything I could do, and I'm still getting injuries, or I'm not performing, or whatever it might be. But you have to make sure that you don't give yourself those excuses for a long, long period of time.
And was there any kind of droughts?
Right. Oh yeah, those. Yeah.
What goes through your head then? Are you thinking, oh no, the pressure's building up, you have to get that? Like, what was your longest drought?
I think, maybe someone will correct me. I think 9 games. I don't think I got to double figures. I used to always get worried when I get to like 7, 8, 9 games I haven't scored here. Because like talking about Klopp and questions, that's what you're getting asked every week. Then you're like, Kevin, you haven't scored in a month, or it's been 6 weeks. You're worried or whatever, and not that you know yourself. Listen, there's sometimes, especially it depends what team you're playing in and where you are in the league. Whatever. There's some weeks you could go a month without getting a chance. Never mind missing chances, you just don't get one. So again, it depends on the situation, and if you know yourself, you're doing everything right, and it's just listen, the team is going through a bad spell, and the ball isn't dropping your way at different stages of the season. You have to keep believing and go out. The game's over, you haven't scored, and go out into the next week and fresh for training and believe, well, next week I'm going to get a hat-trick, or next week's going to be the week, I'm going to score next week. And if I'm not scoring, at least I'm, involved in the game and doing everything I can do to be of assistance to the team. If I'm not putting it in the net, at least I'm,
Right.
not messing up at set pieces, or I'm doing my jobs, I'm holding the ball up and bringing people, whatever it might be, whatever your position is, but a striker, and trying to be in around the box as much as possible, because the ball will drop to you, you will get a tap in, or you will get something, and then you'll go through a stage where you score every game for a while, and it's just, you don't have to even try, you don't have to think about it. I can't explain it. There's something weird about sport, and especially scoring in football, that it just goes through a spell where it's easy, different spells. I remember there was a month in my career, I think I scored a hat-trick, a hat-trick. I scored 2 hat-tricks in a row, and then 2 and 2. I went through in the space of 4 games, hat-trick, 2 and 2 against decent teams. I was in the championship, I think, 1 week, 1 month. And I didn't even play well. I didn't, and it just happens like that. The ball drops your way, and whatever happens, you manage to, everything seems to be very, very easy. But yeah, they're the easy times. As you said, the hard times are when things aren't going well, and how do you stay going and keep your head right in the tougher times. So I was lucky. I never got into you see some strikers go 20, 30 games or whatever, and I'd imagine their head is completely wrecked. I never got into that situation, but tough seasons, definitely. It depends what team you're playing at the time as well.
True. Right, okay, now it's time for our 1-2 free. Your chance to win €100 cash for absolutely free. All you have to do is predict the scores of 3 of this weekend's matches. Kevin, what are your 1-2 free predictions for this weekend? Okay, the first game up is Brighton at home to Manchester United.
I'm going to go for a Man United away win. There you go. Positive about Man United. The future's bright at Old Trafford. Might be bright down at Brighton this weekend. But no, they had a good win during the week at home. Last home game of the season, I think it was. So, yeah, I'm going to go for an away win. 2-0 to Man United.
2-0 to Man U. Okay, next up we have Arsenal at home to Leeds.
This is probably now when Arsenal slip up, when they look like they're going to qualify for the Champions League. No, I'll go home win Arsenal. I'll go 3-0 Arsenal.
3-0, right, okay. Not good for Leeds. And finally, Man City at home to Newcastle United.
I don't think it's going to be this week that Man City drop points. I'll go for what did they beat Leeds 4-0, was it? No, I go for it 3-1 to Man City.
3-1 to Man
City. Again, it depends on the Champions League tonight as well, and what sort of humour they might be in. It mightn't be the happiest place in the world if they don't win tonight, but 3-1 Man City.
Yeah, cool. All right, Kevin, that's you. Thank you for your time. Remember, if you are having a bet on anything this weekend, please do gamble responsibly. Visit gamblecare.ie for more information. We'll be back next week for more of The Build-Up, brought to you by Ladbrokes.